couple of things I never understood in the Torah. How many times in the Torah does it say God's eyes? Einei Hashem. How many times? Only twice? Because he has two eyes? How many times does it say Yad Hashem? How many times does it say Pi Hashem? So, does he have eyes? Does he have a mouth? Does he have an arm? Yes? No? No. Yes.
No.
Uh-huh.
I mean, no.
You Isn't that, I mean, come on, so many times. Dvar Hashem. Does he really speak? If you were there, would you hear him? No. Like real speak or mental talk? Real speech. Okay. Okay, so many people say, and it says in the Mefarshim, that it is not literal. It's only a mashal. Why do we have such a mashal? To help us understand, like every mashal. But to help us understand what? That he doesn't have an arm or a mouth, and he doesn't really speak, and he... So listen to this example. My granddaughter was crying because her doll broke. So I sat down and I said, I feel so bad because it must have hurt the doll terribly. So she started to laugh. She says, it didn't hurt. I said, what do you mean it didn't hurt? The arm came off. She said, it's not a real arm. I said, how do you know? She said, it's plastic. She's right. A plastic arm is not a real arm. It looks like an arm, but it's not a real arm. What's a real arm? A real arm has to have a bone and skin with muscle, right? That's a real arm. A plastic arm is just plastic. A bone and skin is just a bone and skin. It's not a real arm. It looks like an arm, but it's not a real arm. It's just a bone. God has a real arm, a real one. Since we were created in his image, B'Tselem Elokim, that's why we also have something like an arm. But his is the real thing. Ours is just like a doll. So does he really have a mouth? Or we have a real mouth? He has a real one. We have something like it. Does he really speak or we really speak? He said, let there be light, vayihi. You try it. Say it 100 times. Nothing will happen. Because our speech is not the real, his is the real. So who is the mashal and who is the nimshal? We are the example, not him. So does he really have an arm? Yes. Is it literal, an arm? Yes. An actual arm? Yes. You mean like mine? No, because yours is not the real thing. Now it makes a little bit of sense. I call my arm an arm because it's a tiny little example of his real arm. So it's not confusing, it's a little bit helpful. But don't think that his arm is like yours, because his arm is the real one. So the Torah is not using words incorrectly, saying he has an arm when he doesn't really. Every word in the Torah is true. So if it says an arm, then it's an arm. Just don't think it's an arm like a doll's arm, because it's a real arm. Then there's another question that really needs explaining. What does it mean, Ivdu et Hashem? What does it mean? Anybody know? Huh? Serve Hashem. What does serve mean in English? Who serves? A waiter. A waiter. So, if a waiter comes over to your table and serves you, and you didn't ask for it, he brings you something you didn't ask for, is he serving you? Or is he annoying you? Getting on your nerves?
Why is it annoying if he brings you?
Huh?
Why is it annoying if he brings you free food?
Well, you asked for soup, and he brought you kugel. So, excuse me, take this back and bring me some soup. So, no, I'm serving. No, but you're not serving me if you don't bring me what I want. To serve means to do something for another person that the other person needs. If he doesn't need it, and you keep serving him, you're annoying. You're a pest. So what does it mean, Ivdu es Hashem? Serve him. What does he need? Nothing. Because he's God. What does he need? So if he needs nothing, what are you serving him? So if you put on the tefillin every day, you're serving him? Hmm? If he doesn't need you to put on the tefillin, how are you serving him?
You're praising him.
Does he need your praise?
He's happy.
He asked for it.
That's one of the things that really puzzled me for a long, long time. Would he want something he doesn't really need? Should you want things that you don't need?
Yeah.
You should?
Yeah.
You should want all sorts of stuff that you don't need? And then you get all that stuff you want but don't need. What do you do with it? You put it in the basement, in the attic, because you don't need it. Also, if you want it but you don't need it, can you change your mind and say, nah, I don't want it anymore? Of course, right? Is it possible that God will change his mind and say, nah, I don't need your tefillin?
Yeah.
It's not possible?
He's not going to do that.
He's not going to do it. Huh? Well, so Rambam says, one of the Yud Gimel Ikrim is that HaTorah Hazot lo tehei muchlefet. God will never change it. How do we know? The answer is because it's not something he wants but doesn't need. Then you can change your mind. Today I want it, tomorrow I don't want it. But by God there's no such thing. What he wants, he needs. What he needs, he wants. Whatever he does has to be. It's not maybe. At Har Sinai, God didn't say, until further notice, put on tefillin. When I lose interest, I'll let you know. There's no such thing. It's forever. No? So here's the problem. If God is really perfect, why does he care about anything? And does anything really matter? He wants to give? Yeah. In other words, even when you're perfect, you want to give. Why? You're already perfect. See, if I give, if I'm generous with what I have, I become a better person. God becomes better when he gives. If he's already perfect, why does he have to give? So it must be that he does it l'shem shamayim. For no reason at all. So let me try to, I think I have a little explanation for this. What does it mean God is perfect? What does perfect mean?
He doesn't need anything.
He doesn't need anything because he's perfect.
Yeah.
But what does perfect mean?
Not missing anything.
Not missing anything. That's very good. God is not missing anything. In other words, he is so perfect that he cannot get any stronger. He can't get any smarter. He can't get any bigger. He can't get any older. He's already, right? So there is no way in which he can make himself bigger or better because he's already perfect. If I don't need anything, would I still find a friend? For what? If I was perfect and I don't need anything, why would I want to have a friend?
So you can make that person better.
To make that person better. But why do I need to do that? I don't. So why would I want a friend? Huh? Because I'm bored? See, I thought about it in terms of marriage. If you're healthy and you're smart and you're capable, why do you need to get married?
Don't give. You gotta have kids.
You see, there's a difference between trying to increase myself or having someone beside myself. So if I really want a friend, it's not because I will become better or smarter as a result. I don't need my friend to make me better. Well, sometimes I do, but then it's not a real friend. Then I'm just using somebody to make myself better. Which is not a bad thing, because I'm not perfect. But if I was perfect, and I really didn't need to increase or improve anything in myself, why would I still want a friend? So here's this important idea. God created the world before there was anything, right?
Yeah.
So it can't be that he created the world for me because I didn't exist. You didn't exist. Nothing existed. So he created the world before there was anything. And he was already perfect. So why did he create the world? This is really like the most important idea in Judaism. Before God created the world, he was Yachid. He was the only thing. And he was perfect. By creating the world, he is becoming Echad. Hashem Echad. What is the difference between Yachid and Echad? Take a guess.
The
Hmm?
you.
Right. The spelling is different. But in the meaning of it, what is the difference between Yachid and Echad?
Yachid is singular.
Single and
Echad is one. One is
One is alone, one is one.
oneness.
Oneness. The difference is Yachid means nothing else exists, just me. I am Yachid because there's no one else. Echad means we are all together. So Yachid means exclusion. Echad means inclusion. So what happened? When God created the world, he was basically saying, I am Yachid and I don't like it. I want to be Echad. In other words, I don't want to be the only thing. I want someone else also to exist. So he created us. And that's why the Medrash says, Bereshit bara, what does that mean? Bishvil Yisrael. He created the world so that we would exist. And now that we exist, what has been accomplished? Now he is not Yachid. Now he is Echad. Or to put it in different words, you remember where it says in Bereshit, it says, Loi toiv heyot ha'adam levado. Yes? What does it mean? Why was he saying this? Why did God say this? Because that's why he created the world. It's not good to be Yachid, even when you're perfect. So when a person thinks, when I become perfect, I'm not going to need anybody. The more perfect I become, the less I need you, because I'm perfect. That's not the way God is. Because God was perfect and is perfect, that's why he wants someone else besides him, so that they can become Echad. You hear this? God is actually saying, by creating the world, God is saying, I am not satisfied being me, I also want to have you. Now, somebody asked recently, isn't it selfish of God to create the whole world so that everybody will serve him? Doesn't that sound a little selfish? Huh? Yep. And then he tells us to never be selfish and never be arrogant. Isn't he being selfish and arrogant? Yeah. Everybody serve me. Everybody praise me. It's the exact opposite. By creating the world, God is showing, I'm not enough. I'm perfect. But that's not good enough. Why? Because it's just me. So what does he do when he creates the world? He creates someone besides him. That's the opposite of arrogance. And that's the opposite of selfish. I'm already perfect. I don't need any favors from you, and yet I make room for you in my life. Why? So that you'll also exist with me, that I won't be alone. That's why we get married, because to be alone is not the godly way. God was alone, and he didn't like it. It's not enough. To be yourself, there has to be someone else also. Yes?
If you need someone with him, why do you create a lot of people and now just one? If he has one, he has someone
And
with
that
him.
person needs someone.
They're with each other.
Huh?
He's saying one person. Just create one person, and then Hashem will have someone serve him.
That's why it says that Adam was created alone, to tell you that even if there was only one other person, it would justify the whole creation.
Why does it stay that way?
So why doesn't he stay that way? Because Adam ate from the wrong tree. everything by God is huge. So he wants not only one person, he wants one people. Am Yisrael. So the question is, if you need Am Yisrael, why do you have to have non-Jews? You know what it's like? When you get married, it's just you and your wife. Totally private. And yet look what's going on upstairs. Right. A man and a woman are getting married, and the whole town is here. Who invited everybody? Only 2 people are getting married. What everybody else doing here? Uh-huh. They came to celebrate. For some reason, in order for the marriage to be perfect, the whole community has to celebrate, even though they're not getting married. So the same way, the relationship that we have with Hashem is like a marriage. All the other nations are like the guests at the wedding. So until now, can you imagine if all the guests upstairs are jealous? They're jealous. They want to get married to this kala or this chatan. Imagine how nasty that would be. Everybody making comments like, what are you marrying him for? What do you think, he's so special? I know. Oh, no, he's not so good. That's anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism has been around forever because they're like guests at our wedding and they're all jealous. What's going to happen when Mashiach comes? They're going to become intelligent. You come to somebody's wedding, you don't come to be jealous. You celebrate that they are having a special relationship. That's what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Instead of being anti-Semitic, they will become guests at our wedding and they will be happy for us that we have this special relationship with Hashem, and they will bring presents like the people upstairs are doing, and they will actually be complimented that they were invited to such a special event.
Other nations could convert now. Join them.
They could.
What about their
They're
wedding?
not going to. They're not going to. Only certain people are meant to convert. Otherwise, they can't.
I guess that a wedding.
Huh?
I guess that a wedding came converted to the ground.
What about their wedding?
Huh?
What about their wedding? Their wedding.
Yeah, not with Hashem. Right? They know that we have a special relationship with Hashem. Until now, they've been jealous. Now they're going to become a little more mature, and they're going to say, wow, you guys really have something special. Can we come to the party? And if we're invited to the party, that's our honor. A little bit that's happening already. Like Yerushalayim becoming the capital again. Because people are saying, yes, they have something special. They are the chosen people. Why are we being jealous? So that's what the Navi says. The Navi says that every nation will come to contribute something to build the Beit HaMikdash. Like guests coming to a wedding. So what's happening upstairs is the solution to anti-Semitism. That's how it's going to all resolve itself. So, Ivdu es Hashem means you're doing for him what he needs. What does he need? Tefillin, Shabbat, Kashrut. What does he really need? He needs us to be echad with him. How do we become one with him? He keeps Shabbat, we keep it with him. He puts on tefillin, for real, we put on tefillin. That way we are with him. But imagine if you're sitting by the table on Shabbat and you're celebrating Shabbat and your children don't want to come to the table. They're still your children, but they're not echad with you. They're fighting with you. So the mitzvot that God gives us is so that we will become echad with Him. And that's what He wants. He wants echad. And that's why before we do any mitzvah, we first have to know Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem echad. I think the party is starting. Wow, that was a short party. Any questions? Any answers? No questions? What happens if a person sins and then he dies? What happens to him?
He dies.
So what happens?
He's going to heaven.
Because he sinned, huh? He has a judgment, and if he's guilty,
Downstairs.
downstairs,
Down low.
in the basement. Huh?
Why do we refer to Hashem as He and not it?
Or she.
I know why not she.
Well, why not she?
Why not she?
I mean, Shekhinah is
Shekhinah is a she.
I know. But kids is if Hashem is an Metziut, then it's it, not a He.
It's. I think you're following the theme. If he wants a relationship, then he's not an it anymore. An it doesn't want a relationship. A he and a she need each other. So the question is, should he be a he or a she? So the problem is not what he is, but what we are. Because if Hashem is the she, then we have to be the he. That's not good. There was a big debate between some famous rabbi and the Christians back in the olden days. And the Christian asked the rabbi, how come in your Torah God is so punishing? He punishes and punishes, and he's angry, and he's... The answer was brilliant. The rabbi said, it's because we would rather that he does the punishing than that we should do the punishing. By you, your God doesn't punish, so you punish everybody. You make the Crusades, and you make the Inquisitions, and you torture people. Better leave it to him. Let him be the he, we want to be the she, right? Also because he married us, which is the masculine. He came to take us out of Mitzrayim. So what is this thing about Gehenna? Anybody know? What's Gehenna? A place for bad people.
Purgatory for your sins.
Purgatory.
It's like a washing machine.
That's good.
Well, it's also a place to get cleansed first, then go to
So it's a dry cleaner.
it depends on how bad.
If you have a stain on your shirt, you have to put it in the washing machine.
Depends how much cleaning you need.
Just throw it out.
There's a fire, there's hot water, it boils. What's going on over there? How do you boil a soul? How does a neshama get punished?
Send them downstairs.
Huh? The only way that a soul can suffer is from shame. So imagine a neshama comes to Shamayim, and all the other souls are there, and you don't remember how to be a soul because you're used to being a body. That's very embarrassing. It's like walking into a shul and you don't know when to stand, when to sit, when to turn around. So what is the punishment of the sin? The embarrassment. When the soul goes back to a world of souls and it doesn't fit in, it's very embarrassing. What happens when you get embarrassed? You burn. You burn with shame. Right? So, Gehenna is not a place. It's like heaven goes up and this will go down. There's no up or down. You have two souls side by side. One is in heaven because it knows how to be a soul. And the other one sitting right next to it is embarrassed. So he's in Gehenna. How long can you be embarrassed? Up to 12 months, maximum. And that's why we say Kaddish for 11. Because we don't want to suggest that this guy needed the maximum. But on the other hand, maybe he did. So we say 11 months, not 12. But what is Gehenna? Gehenna simply means you're embarrassed. Heaven means you come back after 80, 90, 100 years on earth, you come back and you remember how to be a neshama. It's as if you never left. That's heaven. So what is the shame or what is the fear of going to Gehenna? The shame. But the shame for doing a sin, you don't have to wait until you get to Gehenna. If you're embarrassed by your sin, you're already cleaned. You've already burned it off. So we can do tshuva on earth, and then we don't have to go to Gehenna because we were already embarrassed. We were already ashamed. And the shame burns off the sin. So the worst thing is a person who does a sin and he's not ashamed. He has no shame, no busha. That means that he's lost his conscience. He is so insensitive, he's not even ashamed. And then something else has to embarrass him in order to get him to get cleaned up. But if we're embarrassed ourselves, we don't have to go to Gehenna.
Where does this notion come that Gehenna is downstairs? I mean, I know Korah, when he went under, they said that's the petach of Gehenna. But where does this notion come from?
Because we put everything into physical. So we say, holy is up, unholy is down. We don't mean physically up or down. We mean this is higher and this is lower. This is more and this is less, but not physically. Not physically. So there is no physical place where you can go visit on visiting day. I don't know if they have visiting day in Gehenna. You think they have? I mean, if you have a relative there, can you go visit?
Pretty embarrassing.
Bring them some candy. I mean, something. Of course you can. You can be sitting right next to him. But you're not embarrassed, and he is. So he's in Gehenna, and you're not. So you can give him a candy. In other words, we don't have to wait for Gehenna to clean us. We can clean ourselves. That's the power of tshuva. And that's what this month coming up, the month of Elul, getting ready for Rosh Hashanah, it's a time when we can be embarrassed ourselves by what we did wrong, and we don't want to do it again next year. So we're getting ready for a Shana Tova. A better year than last year because no embarrassment. We don't embarrass ourselves.
If the embarrassment is just the whole point of the, if once we get embarrassed, then the whole sin goes away. So I don't need forgiveness. What's the whole point of Yom Kippur then?
See, Yom Kippur doesn't mean forgiveness. What is the Hebrew word for forgiveness? Mechila. What is kapara? Yom Kippur. Kapara means clean, cleansed. You're forgiven because you regret your sin and you're not going to do it again. That's it, you're forgiven. But now, what about the fact that you did sin? How do you erase that? So in other words, once you are embarrassed and you say you're not going to do it again, God is not angry at you anymore. You're forgiven. But what about the fact that you messed up? Like, you threw a baseball through my window. And you apologize, and I say, fine, I forgive you. Who's going to fix the window? You broke the window. So I'm not angry at you. I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to scream at you, but somebody's got to fix the window. So that's Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur fixes the damage that the Avera created. But you can be forgiven any time. As soon as you stop sinning and you say, I'm sorry, God forgives you.